My F18 girlfriend, who was my rock for 1.5 years, turned into a stranger overnight. When her eyes opened, she told me, "I don't love you anymore," while avoiding my reassurances. Now I'm left wondering, did I actually lose her to the chaotic college life? We dated for approximately 1.5 years, and for the first year, everything was very good. We were supportive of one another and we loved each other deeply. We hardly ever fought, and if we ever needed reassurance, we were there for each other. It was the healthiest relationship I have experienced in my troubled life, and I have endured a lot of trauma, which I have never disclosed to anyone except for her. She would help me feel better about myself when it affected me, and our whole relationship was everything I had ever wanted. It was also what she desired. We genuinely supported one another until August 2024. We both maintained work and friendships outside of our relationship, but we both became jealous when the other interacted with anyone of the opposite gender. Over time, I reduced my communication with women, and at one point I completely stopped for her sake. She made a similar effort, although she still talked to some of her older friends, which I did not mind. When her college began in August 2024, I sensed her distancing herself from me. I was continually worried and lost sleep over whether she would stay with me. I communicated my discomfort regarding her behavior, and although she reassured me she would revert to that behavior after a week of not doing it. Additionally, in August, I faced an overwhelming series of stressful events related to my family that left me emotionally drained. During that time, I contemplated whether taking a break would be beneficial for us, as I did not want to negatively impact her emotions because I was in a slump. She obviously rejected that idea, and I accepted her decision. Throughout August and September, things continued to deteriorate. I increasingly worried and felt more stress regarding our relationship, and would sometimes become angry at her for not taking my feelings seriously. I knew she loved me, but my anxiety prevented me from believing it. During this period, she began taking her musical career more seriously and joined a band at her college that performed gigs at coffee shops. Meanwhile, I began to focus more on my sport and had to travel frequently among three main cities across the country. She rarely made time for me, never canceling a practice or staying out late, while I would literally take extra flights to see her and cancel races. I did not do this to compel her to return the favor. I simply wished she would make time for me. This, along with other issues, affected me deeply. Whenever I expressed my concerns, she would listen, but she never followed through with any changes. In October, I suffered from a severe illness for the better part of 2 weeks, ending up in the hospital where I received an injection every 2 hours without one full night's sleep. During this time, I asked her if she could spend more time with me, but she did not follow through on her promise. Throughout September, she talked about how excited she was for Boyfriend's Day. At first, I did not care much, but her enthusiasm made me excited too. Unfortunately, I was in the hospital at that time. On that day, something shifted within me. She did not text me the entire day, and I did not call her at all. She returned home around 10 p.m., which was typical because her practice consumed her entire evening. She spent time with her mother watching a movie, and at 11:58 p.m. she texted, "Happy Boyfriend's Day, I love you a lot. I'm sorry I couldn't text today, I'm going to sleep." After a full day of bleeding from my nose, constant headaches, and vomiting, she was aware of my condition. Her 3 messages were all I received. Reflecting on it now, I know it was not a big deal, but her actions during September and October made me feel terrible, and no matter how much I communicated with her or how much she professed her love for me, she did not demonstrate any genuine change. Once I recovered, I viewed her differently. She remained unchanged. I knew she loved me very much and was genuinely happy with me, but I had been miserable for those 2 months. I could not bear the feeling of begging for help. She would cry when I told her how she treated me, but she never changed enough for it to matter significantly. During the remaining half of October and the first week of November, I could not cope. Every 5 days, I would address her behavior, resulting in heated arguments where I would insult her for making me feel this way. I started mentioning that I needed a breakup, but she insisted we could work through it like we had before, and I believed her. Although she did change, it was only for about a week before she began to regress. I communicated that I needed her support, and if she couldn't be there for me during tough times, I could not handle the stress, indicating we needed to break up. She would always hold me, apologizing profusely for everything, and I would melt like a popsicle, feeling sorry for expressing my feelings. After several weeks of arguments, I began to feel better, and we started becoming healthier again. It was not like it had been before, but there was significant improvement. I had an international race that I could only participate in with her support while she won her singing festival. However, whenever our situation deteriorated even slightly, I would feel anxious and seek her reassurance. If she could not provide it, I felt abandoned, leading to a minor argument that was eventually resolved. She began feeling low because she could not keep me happy, and I would cheer her up, expressing my love for her and assuring her that we would improve. In December, she stopped communicating with me for 3 or 4 consecutive days, leaving me feeling abandoned once more. I could not handle her games and proposed a breakup. She cried, insisting we would still talk, and I confirmed that I still loved her. I said, we will still talk, we will still meet. It's just that I cannot support you if you are not there for me right now. I'm genuinely stressed and have too much going on, and I take it out on you. She insisted that it did not matter as long as I was with her. I regret that moment. She was depressed for 5 days, and when I saw her, she appeared empty and sad. I approached her, hugged her, and reassured her that I would always be there for her. We cuddled and fell asleep together. She assured me that she would never leave my side, and I promised her the same. Here's the confusing part. 2 weeks later, just before Christmas, she said she wanted a break. I was taken aback, and she stated she did not want to communicate at all without giving any reasons. When I asked for explanations, she did not provide any, so I continued texting her despite her desire for no contact. I spent Christmas and New Year's alone, worried about her while she attended a house party with close friends. I felt depressed due to her unwillingness to explain herself. In January, she called and requested to meet. I agreed, and she looked at me with the same love as before. We had the best date I have ever experienced with her. She said she was incredibly happy to meet me, and I felt the same way. I expressed my love for her, but she hesitated to reciprocate. We spoke more the day after the date, but by the end of the day, she reminded me, we are still going on no contact, by the way. Just because I'm nice right now doesn't mean we are properly together. Once again, I asked her why multiple times, but she left my messages on scene. 3 weeks later, she called me again, saying she wanted to break up. She addressed issues that I thought we had already resolved. She had stated they were resolved when we were together and spoke to me dismissively. She laughed or smiled narcissistically while saying, my eyes opened and I don't love you anymore, accompanied by a condescending smile. I felt as if she were possessed or something. Her manner was not characteristic of the girl I knew. I attempted to break through the defenses she had built and held her in my arms while she began to cry, saying, you hurt me. I don't like who I have become with you over these past months, and similar statements. I held her and consoled her, expressing that we could easily resolve our issues if she just trusted me, but she did not believe me. After this incident, she changed significantly, donning black nail polish, red highlights in her hair, a new haircut, and a completely new style of dressing, becoming more sociable. When I reached out to her for valid reasons, which I felt were non-existent, or if they existed, they could have been easily resolved, she did not respond. When she did, her demeanor had completely shifted towards me. One thing I remember her saying was that she felt small with me. She claimed she had never encountered anyone who made her feel small before. I inquired as to what about me made her feel that way, and she mentioned that I never laughed at her jokes despite having always done so. She also expressed that she believed I did not think her band was important, even though I did. When we spoke, she treated me with zero regard, saying whatever she wanted, including hurtful things I prefer not to recall. I reached out to her for another chance, believing she still loved me despite the hard shell she had formed for self-protection. In summary, she agreed that we could try again, but only for 2 weeks. I expressed my concern that this was insufficient time, but she began stating she hated my mannerisms. How you behave when you talk to me about serious matters, how you eat, how you smile, I now hate your jokes, and so forth. She indicated that before the 2-week period began, she wanted a proper no-contact week, to which I agreed. However, 4 days into that week, I found her liking some attention-seeking posts, which made me feel terrible. I called her to ask why she liked that post, and she replied, even if I like it, it should not affect you, we are not together. I retorted that it seemed unreasonable to believe she could hook up with someone else without it bothering me. She replied, even if I did hook up, which I haven't, you have no right to control me. I was taken aback by her remark. What do you mean? We are on a break. How can you say that? She responded, stating, it is a break, not a breakup. I reminded her that we had agreed this was a break since we were planning to reconcile, referring to her prior text, and she simply left me on read. We ended the break prematurely, and she argued with me, insisting I was forcing her to try again and attempting to control her. This accusation was thrown around so often that it lost all meaning. I never forced her to do anything. I never controlled her, so I did not understand her reasoning. Before the 2-week trial began, she told me she had zero love for me in her heart, and that she was trying again to see if she could rekindle her feelings. Throughout the 2 weeks, she was harsh and cold, exhibiting narcissistic behavior while denying accountability. Any issue that I felt needed to be discussed was dismissed, and I felt like I was chasing her like a dog. The first week was the best in my opinion. We improved every day. I asked her how she felt talking to me, and by week's end, she indicated that she was happy to converse with me. There was a glow in her eyes again. Things were effective when she chose to listen to me. However, shortly thereafter, she fell silent again for 3 days. When she eventually returned, she had reverted to her previous self. 2 days into the second week, she told me, I don't love you and I can't. I'm only doing these next 5 days to fulfill my obligations so I can be done with you. You can imagine how the second week unfolded. On the final day, I requested a hug, which she refused to give. After I hugged her, I kissed her forehead and said I loved her. When I pulled away, I noticed a tear in her eye, but she pushed me away. I asked her why she had said she enjoyed talking to me during the first week, and she replied, I was ignoring my own feelings. During the second week, I asked her what love meant to her, and she replied it was 70% feelings and 30% choice and actions. I told her that it was illogical and immature to hold such a view, as everything she did became clear to me afterward. I attempted to reason with her, but she admonished me, saying, "Stop trying to force and control me." For your information, she was never like this before December. Throughout the time we were genuinely together, she was the complete opposite, literally anyone's ideal partner. I still feel there is a part of her that loves me and that this part recognizes how well we work together, but the hard shell she has erected remains because of the pain I caused her. I yearn for her return. I want to hold her face and kiss her, loving her until I die, and I did not even get the chance to do that. I suffer from a severe brain condition that causes strokes and nose-ear bleeds. I am uncertain whether I will survive until the end of this year if I continue to experience stress. She does not know this, and if I were to tell her, I doubt this hard part of her would care. Recently, I called her to share that I missed her, and she told me that she is happier talking and socializing with her college friends, mostly male, than being in a relationship with me or anyone else. I refused to accept that claim since she had previously expressed otherwise during our time together, and I cannot believe individuals can change so rapidly. Just last night, she featured on a song with a male friend she has known since 2021. He is approximately 8 years older and dating another woman. Although there is no accompanying video, her ad-libs included references to private matters, which made me feel nauseous. Part of me feels she may have cheated on me and changed significantly, but another part of me believes she would never betray me. I find myself caught between two worlds. One where this new side may lead her to be unfaithful, and the other where the person I once loved remains, a person who promised to take care of me. Story 2. After 3 years of heartbreak, I finally faced the truth. You should have left when I cheated the first time, my partner yelled just days before his exit. I was consumed by resentment and panic attacks. How did I not see it? Now he's happily with someone else and I'm shattered. My partner, 24-year-old male, and I, 21-year-old male, were together for over 3 years, since we were 18 and 20 until March. At the beginning of our relationship, he was texting a friend he had previously hooked up with before we met. We are both bisexual and saw her a few times while she was going through a breakup. I trusted him completely from the start and was aware of their history, so I was okay with this. I had absolutely no concerns. I even accompanied him to see her a few times. I discovered from her, perhaps only 4 months later, that he was texting her about how obsessed he was with her and had purchased a sex tape from her, along with other flirtatious messages. This occurred only a couple of weeks into our being official. Yes, I know. I was utterly devastated, and he immediately apologized, sitting me down and saying he would do anything to keep me. We were driving somewhere distant with friends when she messaged me, and he offered to turn around and take us back home. I declined because I felt numb. When we arrived at our destination, he rushed to the bathroom and I could hear loud vomiting sounds from a distance. I am uncertain if that was manipulation or not. It seems like it now. At the same time, he claimed that buying the tape was a joke, that he deleted it immediately out of guilt and shame without watching it, and that he did not think she would actually send it, along with some other excuses. This was an immediate red flag. Later, he admitted that he did want it, though I do not recall when. He did things that I later recognized as manipulative, such as offering me sexual favors as an apology. Writing it all out makes me feel foolish. Why did I even stay? I suppose being 18, naive, and in love is a bad combination. Afterward, I was tormented inside. I got tested for sexually transmitted diseases because I was worried, but he had nothing to say about it. I attempted to discuss the burden I was carrying from the infidelity, but it never reached the point of a real conversation. A month later, I broke down about it, and he expressed surprise that I was still thinking about it. I informed him that it would remain on my mind forever and that nothing would change that. He acknowledged how much he had hurt me. I told him that if I ever discovered anything again, I would be done. He had to confess everything to me now. He admitted to some things with his ex that occurred before we were official or exclusive, but while we were talking. The next year and a half of our relationship was good. I was gradually overcoming my feelings of hurt and pain. I stopped checking on the girl's social media. He shared his location, declined hangouts with friends he knew I would be uncomfortable with, expressed his dedication, demonstrated it, did not hide anything on his phone, and so on. He wanted us to move past it, so he became somewhat annoyed when I would bring it up, but I was not doing terribly. I loved him and wanted to be with him. I just wish he would have prioritized the fact that I was hurting because of his actions and would be for a long time. I could never bring it up. At the time, I did not research anything about reconciliation or how to move forward. I simply wanted to move past it as he desired. Somewhere between him buying the sex tape and my discovery, he invited another friend who was going through a breakup to stay at his apartment for one night. He told me he would let them take his bed while he slept in the living room. He claimed he could not charge his phone out there, so he was going to leave it in the room with them, plugged into the computer. He texted me good night at some point and said he would be away from his phone. I received a message from him at 3 a.m. stating that he had snuck into the room to check his phone. I immediately became suspicious, but I had no reason not to trust him at this point. Naturally, after discovering his infidelity, I inquired about that suspicious night, and he remained consistent with his story. I continued to think about it not making sense after a year and a half, so I brought it up again and asked for the full truth. It was gnawing at me. He stated that the person attempted to kiss him and did. I asked if he actually slept in the living room and he said yes. I pressed further, stating that I would find out from them. He admitted that yes, they slept in the same bed, but nothing happened. The person was sad and inebriated and he did not want to leave them alone. I almost left him at that moment, but he pleaded with me to stay, saying he was scared I would leave, so he had never told me the truth. He did not want me to go home, even for space. He booked a trip for our upcoming anniversary so I would stay with him. He said he did not want it, they did, and he regretted it deeply. He cried profusely about it, claiming he did not view it as cheating. I messaged the person, and they stated that the kissing was mutual and that they had been the one to prevent it from going further because they knew he had a partner. They merely cuddled and slept instead. This person is not very trustworthy either, so I do not know who is telling the truth, if anyone. I later learned that he had a threesome with his ex and this person in a previous relationship. I was aware that he participated in threesomes with the ex when they were together, but I made him tell me every single friend he did it with and block them. He did not mention this person. I later discovered that, I guess, he texted this person within the first year of our relationship, months after that night, asking them to come over and clean the house in a maid outfit, and that he would put their nude pictures on his wall as decoration. I have no idea what that was about. I asked him about it, and he admitted to the maid outfit request but said it was a joke and not in a sexual way, and that was all he said. The person is known to lie about random things, so I still do not know any truths regarding them. After this incident, he became the most wonderful partner in every way. He posted pictures of me everywhere. He would buy me gifts and flowers, take me on dates, cook for us, and tell me every day how much he loved me and how excited he was for our future. He would send me multiple texts while I was at work about all the little things he loved about me. He did not want anything to hang over us. He ceased doing anything that would make him appear untrustworthy. He supported me and made sure I knew how much he cared and adored me. I think he genuinely wanted to change. Meanwhile, I grew increasingly resentful. I became toxic and unkind. I would criticize and be unsupportive. I would ask him to change aspects of his behavior that annoyed me and he would comply. He sacrificed a lot for me. I did not reciprocate much affection. It was difficult to say I love you in the same way. I was cold at times. He was perfect in every single way except for breaking my trust. He just wanted to avoid dwelling on the past, so I could not approach him with my pain regarding his dishonesty, which I was not sure ever truly ceased. He took pride in moving on from things easily. If I attempted to talk about the past, he would cry and tremble and I would comfort him, or he would become upset and say he could not keep score of the past and how he had messed up, because he knew he had and regretted it every day. We argued frequently because I would initiate fights out of nowhere. I was filled with anger and hurt and he wanted us to resolve it, otherwise we could not be together. I was hurting both him and myself. I understood this but could not control myself. I wish I had tried to address my anger and resentment. He was so understanding of it all and desired to have healthy conversations instead of what was happening. He bent over backward to compromise and make me feel better. I regret fighting with him. We had exceptionally good days and moments, but somehow things would always take a turn because of me bringing up an insecurity or something similar. A week before he left me, I requested to see messages between him and a friend out of curiosity. He sent me screenshots and deleted some messages. I called him out on it and he said he needed space to think, so he left my messages and calls unanswered for 2 hours. I spiraled, thinking he had cheated again. I had a panic attack. I discovered that what he deleted was not even significant. He merely wanted to have private conversations with friends. I was so triggered. We discussed it the following day and he yelled, stating that he needed to be able to be himself and have space during an argument, as well as private conversations with people where he could be vulnerable. I told him he could not have space like that if he was lying to me and making me think he was cheating again. Somehow the conversation ended on an acceptable note, but it was merely a band-aid. I do not think he felt remorseful. I was still triggered without realizing it. I started spirals of irrational, immature, and unreasonable texts days later that began with him being understanding and healthy, wanting to talk later instead of me bombarding him with messages, and expressing his love for me, which ended with him screaming at me to shut up. I used it to become angry with him while he said he was disgusted with himself for reaching that point, but I just would not stop talking. The next day, I started another fight that I knew I should not have about my insecurities regarding the lies and how they drove me crazy, leading him to tell me to drop him off at his house and go home. I was going to do it, but I was so hurt and furious. He said goodbye, told me he loved me and to be safe, and I responded that I would not be because I would just go sit in a sketchy parking lot nearby until we could resolve things. It was manipulative and wrong of me holding my safety hostage and not allowing him space. I messed up. I begged to come back in and he allowed me. He left me the day after that while crying, stating that he had been contemplating it for months but postponing because he wanted to see improvements. Weeks prior, he had been telling me that all that mattered was us and staying together. He mentioned that we were doing really well lately and that he was incredibly happy with us only a couple of months before he left. We were discussing moving in together when he expressed concerns about our arguments and stated he wanted to see changes, suggesting a temporary trial period where I would move into his current place to see how things went. It was a very healthy approach. He expressed all these wonderful sentiments about never wanting to leave and wanting to work on us, assuring that we would stay together no matter what. He admitted that he was merely saying these things to convince himself, but he never informed me that he was genuinely considering ending our relationship until that night. The comments he made about needing to change or else we could not be together would always arise during instances when we were both fighting and upset. There was never a sit-down conversation that he requested or dedicated time to outside of fights. I also did not ask for one, so I suppose that is my fault as well. He stated he never wanted to leave, but he had to or nothing would change. I could not stop fighting him. The toxicity ruined me. I did not even realize how poorly I was behaving at the time. I could have been much healthier and put in more effort. I messed up after the breakup as well, venting to our mutual friends about everything and how deeply I was hurt by his actions. He perceived that as a betrayal and thought I was attempting to take all of our mutual friends away from him, leading him to view me very differently. He never wanted to discuss me or our issues with others, which allowed me to maintain connections. Ironically, they all ended up staying friends with him and ignoring me. He desired the breakup to be amicable. I ruined that. I am feeling incredibly alone because I became so codependent after his cheating, and the only people we socialized with were those mutual friends nearly every day. He has the exact same life without me, and now I am having to reach out to old friends to regain some sense of community because absolutely everything has been turned upside down. I feel so foolish. He is now in a relationship with a mutual friend from our social circle. This began just 2 weeks after our breakup. She is so much better, more attractive, and has more similar interests. He is posting about her and they are posting about him as if they are soulmates. They are sharing clothes using the word forever and posting pictures of rings, flowers, picnics, and gifts. He even got a new tattoo for her in the same spot where he had planned to get one for me merely a month prior. He appears to be happy with her. He realized that the grass was greener and could be with someone amazing and uncomplicated instead of staying with me and trying to address what was irreparable. I was not fixable. He tried for years and it was not enough for me. I know for a fact he did not cheat on her if that is what you were wondering, but that is an entirely different story with many complexities. I am just so broken. I miss him and love him, but I also resent that he could do this. I feel overwhelmed with guilt. I feel like a monster and a fool. I despise the person he turned me into and the person I was to him. I have since discovered that he cheated in his last 2 relationships as well. Perhaps he has finally changed for the right person. Who knows? Since he left, he has also reached out to the individuals he cheated with, speaking to them and apologizing for the past, while stating that he is in a difficult situation and feeling very lonely and that it will take time to get close again. He is in a relationship. How is he lonely? In summary, my partner cheated multiple times at the beginning of our relationship, consistently provided half-truths. I never fully got over it and we never worked through it. He ultimately left me. I wasted a considerable amount of time being traumatized. Woohoo. Story 3. After 30 years of mixed emotions, I wrote a heartfelt letter to Dad and my stepmom asking, "Did you two have an affair leading to the divorce?" I revealed how their choices ruined our lives, driving my siblings and me to therapy and leaving me questioning love and marriage. Would you send it? Be warned, this is a lengthy post. I have not yet decided whether I will actually mail or give it to them, but here is a heartfelt letter I typed and saved for my father and stepmother. My father's affair with my stepmother was the reason for my parents' divorce, and 30 years later it still affects me and my 2 older siblings. I continue to have mixed emotions towards my father and stepmother. What do you think of this letter, and would you mail or give it to them if you were in my position? Hi, Dad and Stepmother, how are you? I understand how and why the new place is not home, but life is full of changes, some of which are completely unfair. Do you know what I mean? I love you both, and I will always cherish the memories and good times we have shared together. I will forever be grateful for how you both supported and encouraged my goal of serving in the military. That being said, I need to express some feelings. You may not remember some of the things I will be mentioning soon, but I certainly do. As I have mentioned before, it is a burden to have a sharp memory. As I previously stated, I will always appreciate your support, encouragement, and the good times we have experienced together. However, I need to ask this. Please tell me the truth. Did my father and my mother divorce because the two of you were having an affair? A long time ago, you dad attended a counseling session with me one day. Her name was Barbara. I have kept in touch with Barbara over the years. During our appointment with Barbara, you stated that you and mom were already experiencing problems when you met stepmother. Yet everyone else seems to say otherwise. The divorce resulting from your affair or an affair serving as the reason for the divorce certainly would explain a lot. It would clarify why you got married so soon after it was finalized, why my brother and sister, especially my sister, harbored so much bitterness toward you stepmother for years, and why you kept us in the dark about your wedding date. Heavens, we did not even know until you were already driving us to the farm, and we were dressed up for a typical day at the farm. Mom had to call paternal grandma to assure her that she did not send us out there like that on purpose. Remember, Mom was raised a Southern Baptist, and because Catholics could not marry non-Catholics at that time, she converted in order to marry you, Dad. Her side of the family was not pleased with her decision, but she did it to be with you. Then, after 14 years, do not forget that you and she built a home together. Even though my brother, sister, and I remained in your life after the divorce, we were no longer with you every day. Not only did your choice result in Mom being kicked out of the home that you two built together, but the three of us kids were essentially cast aside as well, because you chose stepmother over a devoted and loyal wife and over having us three kids with you every day. My brother has been attending therapy for a while now. He has not given specifics, which I understand is his prerogative, but apparently the divorce and everything surrounding it impacted him much more than he realized. My sister, to this very day, suffers from trust and commitment issues in her relationships due to everything surrounding the divorce and the divorce itself. As for me, what happened between you two and my mother is not the sole reason, but a significant factor in why I have never desired marriage or romance. Come to think of it, I do not even believe in marriage. I am convinced that two people can love each other and live together while providing support, etc., but marriage, I do not believe in that aspect. I also recall certain instances when I practically walked on eggshells while spending time at the old place. How you stepmother would lecture me about saying please and thank you because apparently a simple sure was too relaxed and casual for your liking. You also instructed me that boys can burp out loud but not girls. That viewpoint and attitude are just as toxic as the boys don't cry mentality. You might as well say girls do not go to the bathroom either. No offense, but having an affair with a married man who also has children, or at least getting involved with such a man at the wrong time, and placing a picture of yourself in the living room where anyone and everyone can see, with your shirt open and half your nipple exposed, how ladylike would you say those behaviors are? That also reminds me, unlike others, being called a lady does not flatter me at all and actually triggers me. The main reason is that due to comments you and or dad made about drinking like a lady, girls not burping out loud and saying please and thank you, along with similar comments and situations, I have always felt that being a lady means being flawless all the time. Being called a lady also evokes flashbacks of the humiliation I experienced while growing up. Speaking of growing up and the humiliation it brings, you stepmother once told me that having large breasts is a blessing and to ignore it if boys comment about it. Yes, maybe it is a blessing if one actually wants to have large breasts and be noticed for those pieces of troubling lady junk, as I refer to them now and have for quite a while. Also, if having large breasts is truly a blessing, and if there is nothing wrong or shameful about maturing quickly, as others claim, like I did, then why at the age of 39 must I still take antidepressants and other similar medications, and undergo mental health therapy due to maturing prematurely and developing features that I never desired? Just something to ponder. Not only do girls who mature quickly have higher rates of depression and anxiety, but they are also at a greater risk for issues such as eating disorders, unprotected sex, and even alcohol and substance abuse. As if that is not concerning enough, starting menstruation early, particularly before age 12, is a recognized risk factor for breast, uterine, and ovarian cancer. I started menstruating at 11, so lucky me. As horrible as this may sound, part of me hopes to someday experience one of those cancers, so that I can mock all the professionals and everyone else, declaring, "And you all said there is nothing wrong with maturing and periods, even if they start early." There was also a time when you expressed that God designed our reproductive system in that way so that we could reproduce and have babies. If God is indeed all-loving, all-benevolent, and all-wise, could he not conceive a better means for us to reproduce that would be less complicated and not a source of major inconvenience and humiliation? One might certainly expect so. In fact, one of the primary reasons I prefer to remain a ghost on earth and not go to heaven is that I often think, why should I be so eager to spend eternity at God's side if he loves me unconditionally and beyond description, yet allows experiences that bother and humiliate me so deeply, and even did things in the Bible that he knew would frustrate me? After all, he knows the future. There are also certain individuals I have encountered on earth whom I would have absolutely no desire to potentially see in heaven, even if they repented. Well, that sums up everything I have been wanting to express. As I mentioned, I love you both and will always treasure the positive memories, support, and encouragement you have provided. But I implore you to tell the truth and help me understand how it all came to this point.